I am both the parliamentarian of the local United Nations Association Pasadena Foothills chapter, as well as the vice president for academic affairs of the associations here at PCC. And it's my honor to be able to welcome you to our fourth annual Pasadena Human Rights Day celebration, which is being hosted by the city of Pasadena and the local UNA chapter. Human Rights Day is a celebration of the anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And the city of Pasadena and the UNA for the last 4 years have come together to celebrate this together here. And so, to move on and tell you more about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, I'd like to introduce Carol Chenoweth. She's a former president of the UNA chapter, a filmmaker, and just an all-around great lady. So, thank you very much.
Fennessy is an all-around great guy, and he's a board member of the United Nations Association and very, very involved in this community. So, Universal Declaration of Human Rights was founded in 1948, and in 2007, the city of Pasadena and Mayor Bogaard decreed that Pasadena will celebrate this day. So, in 2008, December 10th, we got together and had our very first presentation. On that day, we did a short film explaining exactly what the 30 articles are. People in the committee were with Huntington Hospital, Human Relations Committee, Jet Propulsion Lab, Art Center, Sister Cities, Pasadena Unified School District, Pasadena Weekly, K-Pass, the Public Library, etc., etc. So, without further ado, we can begin this short film telling you precisely what the 30 articles are in the Declaration.
All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights.
Everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind.
每个人对个人的生活、自由和安全都有他应享的权益。
Hakuna mbaya atakuwa mtumwa ama akuwe mtumishi.
No one should be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment.
Everyone has the right to recognition everywhere, to be a person before the law.
All are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law.
Everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent national tribunals for acts violating the fundamental rights granted him by the Constitution or by law.
No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile.
Everyone is entitled in full equality in a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal.
Everyone charged with a penal offense has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty.
No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence. No one to tax upon his honor and reputation.
Everyone has a right to freedom of movement.
Everyone has the right to seek and enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution.
Hombre
Hombres y mujeres tienen el derecho de casar y tener familia.
Everyone has the right to own property.
Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion.
Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression.
Everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association.
Everyone has the right to take part in the government of his or her country. Everyone as a member of society has a right to social security and is entitled to the realization of economic, social, and cultural rights.
Everyone has the right to work. Everyone has the right to form and to join trade unions.
Everyone has the right to rest and leisure.
Everyone has a to a standard of living adequate for health and well-being.
Everyone has a right to education.
Everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community.
Everyone is entitled
to a social and international order in which the rights
and freedom set forth in this
declaration can be fully realized.
Everyone has duties to the community.
Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying any right to engage in any activity aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth.
Good afternoon. My name is Megan Frenchman. I am the current president of the United Nations Association of Pasadena Foothills Chapter. Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy to see all of you out here on this beautiful afternoon. And my role today is to tell you a little bit, for those who don't know, what the United Nations Association does. We were founded shortly after World War II, after the United Nations was formed. We were formed as our role was to educate, inspire, and mobilize Americans to support the principles and vital work of the United Nations. And in that role in Pasadena, the United Nations Association has been in existence over 60 years. I find it very inspiring that we are actually one of the largest chapters in the United States after Washington, D.C. and New York City. And we have several events throughout the year. I encourage you to come look at our display later after the event and see all the things we do. This is one of them. I'm very proud to collaborate with the City of Pasadena. We'd like to thank Mayor Bogaard very much for continuing this with us, and I'd like to say a special thank you to Representative Rhonda Stone. She's somewhere, there she is, and to say thank you for helping us really spearhead this year. What I'm really here to do is introduce, and I'm very privileged to do so, to introduce the president of the Pasadena City College, Dr. Mark Rocha. And he's told me not to say too much, so I'm going to limit it as much as I can, but it's a wonderful resume. Dr. Mark Rocha became the 12th superintendent and president of Pasadena City College last year in July. And under his tenure, the college has approved a new education master plan to develop the college as a truly global community college for the 21st century. He came to us as former president of the West Los Angeles Community College District, where he served as president, and an English teacher by training, did his PhD in English from USC, his master's from California State University Fullerton, and his bachelor's from Villanova. And some interest, he has some scholarly work and has an interest in the playwright August Wilson, and has published numerous articles on him. He was also awarded the Fulbright Fellowship and taught for a year in Caracas, Venezuela. He has two sons, Brandon and Samuel, and lives with his wife in Pasadena. And of course, impressive to me, because I can't run more than a mile, is that he completed the marathon in 2009 here in Pasadena. And I'm very honored to welcome him. We appreciate his presence here today.
Thank you very, very much for that kind introduction. On behalf of all the faculty, staff, and students here at Pasadena City College, I welcome you to Pasadena City College. When the International Declaration of Human Rights was written and passed in 1948, Pasadena City College had already been operating for 24 years, since 1924. And of course, the one idea at the very heart of this college is the idea of social justice. Because for human rights to be actualized we must have education and open access for education for all human beings. And of course, PCC has been here for almost 90 years trying to do just that. In coming here, one of the things I wanted to make sure to do, it's so much fun for me, and I'm just absolutely busting my buttons with pride. You know, let's give a big shout out of thanks to Chris Fennessy and all the students from PCC. They're really the energy behind moving forward with the Global Community College of the 21st Century and our sustainability program. We're very proud of it. We could talk for hours and I won't. But we are committed here at PCC. We're part of the President's Global Climate Initiative, the goal of which is to have a zero carbon footprint by the year 2020, and we're tracking to achieve just that, thanks in large measure to the energy and the drive of our students. And if you do have a Chevy Volt or a Nissan Leaf, you may have noticed that you will be able to pull right up to in our parking lot and plug it into our electric charging station. Which leads me to segue into my introduction of our good friend and our partner and our Mayor, Bill Bogaard. Because those electric charging stations and so much that goes on here at Pasadena City College could not happen but for the close partnership that we have always had with the city of Pasadena, and especially the close friendship we have with Bill Bogaard, who is a doer in terms of support for education in the city and support for PCC. And so with that, I want to introduce to you our friend and our mayor, Bill Bogaard.
What a thrill it is this afternoon to be part of this program and to join with Chris Fennessy and Carol Chenoweth and Dr. Frenchman and Dr. Rocha in extending a cordial welcome to you to this important event in the community life of Pasadena. This is the 4th annual commemoration of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This is the 63rd anniversary of that important document. And while good progress has been made, as has been said at this forum and in other ways focusing on the United Nations Declaration, we have a long ways to go. And that's what this event each year is intended to do, to provoke and to challenge us to live up to what we say is important in our lives and in our society, that is to say, human rights for people around the world. Let me take a moment to spotlight the presence of certain individuals. There are many who should be by reason of their contribution to the community and their accomplishments and their commitment. But I'm going to just mention a few, and I'd like to start with introducing the Vice Mayor of the City of Pasadena, Margaret McCaustin. And then the Chief of Police, Philip Sanchez, and his wife, Deborah. And then Joe Brown, Pasadena chapter of the NAACP. In a moment, we're going to have a wonderful performance from one of the great schools that are part of the PUSD. The principal of that school is here today, the principal of Marshall, Dr. Mark Anderson. I thank all of you for being here and once again emphasize from my point of view that we're participating in an event of great importance from which we can all benefit and learn and renew our commitment to human rights. The theme of this year's program is sustainability and sustainable energy. And I like like that theme. I think our speaker today will inspire us all to new heights in our concerns and our commitment in regard to sustainability. But what it also does, this subject, is to remind us that the needs of human rights weren't written in stone 63 years ago in a very important document, but in fact are something that developed and we perceive differently and with greater importance. The overall theme of human rights is economic opportunity, environmental responsibility, and equality of opportunity for people around the world. And if we are not successful in pursuing sustainable practices, we as a generation will be consuming assets, enjoyments, privileges that exceed what we are entitled to as members of a globe that is rich with resources but limited in the ultimate ability to serve all of the people who are present in the world today and who are coming into the world each week, each month, and each year. So let us be reminded that sustainable energy is very much a part of human rights, that all of the aspects that were presented in the video are part of human rights, and that this is an opportunity for us as friends and as members of a great community to remind ourselves of those responsibilities and go out after the program in the coming year and live up to those commitments and responsibilities in a strong and effective way. Now I have the honor of introducing the next portion of our program. That is the Marshall Fundamentals School Chamber Choir. It is a group that has been working hard and effectively for 7 years, so it's very much a part of the life of Marshall and of our community. It is an organization that has performed in many places and has received many awards. The Marshall Fundamental School Chamber Choir is directed by David Pitts, and it's a pleasure for me to have this opportunity to present the choir for their performance this afternoon. David, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Can we have another round of applause for Marshall? And thank you again to Mr. Pitts for your incredible direction. We appreciate it. and thank you once again for just enjoying this very special afternoon with us. And we are so thankful for our entire community for supporting this program, but particularly thankful for our young people who could be just about anywhere today. So we thank you again. I have the distinct pleasure of doing a very brief introduction of our keynote speaker for this afternoon. Brief because he embodies the work that he does in the world, and so by virtue of hearing him speak, you'll know far more about him than I could ever share in this 1 or 2 minutes. But before getting on to Chris Paine, I would like to also acknowledge once again, on behalf of the United Nations Association, our president, Megan Frenchman, the PCC community for hosting this event, and we hope to be back here again. But thank you again. So Chris Paine, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start with an unknown fact about Chris Paine, and that is that among other extraordinary credits, he was a model United Nations student, which is pretty awesome. For those of you who don't know the Model UN, it's one of the programs that was created by the UN, and everywhere we go, we meet the most extraordinary people on the planet who may happen to have been in that program. So Chris is the writer-director of the acclaimed documentary, Who Killed the Electric Car, which was released first by Sony Pictures in 2006, and most recently, Revenge of the Electric Car, which as we know was released just this year, 2011. His film projects as executive producer include Mark Neal's Charge with Ewan McGregor about electric motorcycle racing, which also is released this year, Faster and No Maps for These Territories as well. Chris was raised in San Francisco and attended Colgate University and NYU in New York, and has lived in Los Angeles since 1990. His press appearances, which you may have all seen, include The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, Nightline, ABC World News Tonight, Democracy Now!, and Science Friday on NPR. In the wake of the BP disaster in 2010, Chris and activist tree sitter John Quigley co-founded Counterspill.com, charting 100 years of non-renewable energy disasters. Chris also supports the work of Amazon Watch, Impro Theater, the Black Rock Arts Foundation. He majored in international relations, and on behalf of the UN and the city of Pasadena, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Chris Paine.
Well, thank you for being here on Saturday. Beautiful Saturday outside. Driving up today, watching those hills come up. It's just so beautiful here. Just kind of psychological recovery from all those trees that went down. You know, I live in Culver City, and we had the wind come up, and those eucalyptus trees looked mighty dangerous. And then we woke up in the morning, and we heard what happened up here. It was really sad. Those trees are part of what makes the city great. So anyway, kudos to all of you who have worked on this disaster. Sure for our board. Do we have this link up to the computer? Is that coming through yet? If it doesn't, then I'll tell some of my chestnut stories that I'm going to share with my family at Christmas this year. I did do the Model United Nations when I was at Colgate and studying international relations, and it really was one of the most fun things we did. At the time, I don't think Namibia was a country then, so we had to go and fight for the existence of Namibia. Come on. It's a great time for getting a glass of water. Photograph? It's not quite the two. Okay. talking like this, or do I, this fine? Very fine. So I'm going to show kind of a variety of clips from work we've done recently and then talk about International Sustainability Day. You'll see how it all blends together. I'll start with a little clip that's, that we never use for the film that we just released, but tells a certain story of its own. So that was our very early idea of what we're going to do for our title sequence for the film, which tied together some of the ideas from our first film. Kind of give a quick history of human ground transportation was the joke that the animators and we had. We had a lot of fun putting it together, but one of the problems with documentaries is that they never end up where you start them. And by the time we finished a 3-year project, that piece didn't really fit anymore. So I keep it to show audiences like this kind of example of how things change and how in the whole of human history, whether we were walking or riding horses or riding trains, we always felt that was going to be it. And whenever change comes along, sometimes it's for the better, sometimes for the worse, but we kind of go kicking and screaming into the future. So thank you for being here for 2012 International Year of Sustainable Energy for All Kickoff Day. We'll call it that because we're still a month off. And my perspective as a storyteller and environmentalist is, okay, well, this is our planet, so it'd be better for all of us if we can figure out how to use the energy we need and not deplete the limited resources we have in terms of fossil fuel, because it's got a double-edged sword of what it does to the environment, and there's a limited supply. And this is a sign from when we were filming at Copenhagen a couple of years ago. Also, this whole protest never made it into it, but that was my favorite sign of the whole thing. Of course, I guess the Kepler telescope discovered there is a planet B somewhere, but we have to fly several light years away. We don't want to do that yet. So my friend shared with me this stat, which outlines some perspectives on what this whole International Energy Year is supposed to be about. And it's by 2030, universal access to modern energy services, which basically means putting the grid up in places where they don't have it. Reducing global energy intensity by 40%, how much energy each of us is using as a human being, and increasing renewable energy by 30%. So I thought just for fun today, because I'll be speaking for a short time, I talked sort of like how I see those goals maybe being met, and then what sustainable energy is for each one of us personally. So on we go. And by the way, there's a rough image. That was back when our runners had sort of the caveman look and sort of down to that. So here's how we don't use sustainable energy in the world right now. In the developed world, we pull our oil from other sources, and the oil, of course, makes our airplanes run and our cars run. And it's a huge amount of energy. The other way we do it is we have power plants. Whether they're coal, most of them are fossil fuel power plants. And this is not sustainable because it's all going to run out. It creates other problems too, and which is one reason we decided to start this website, which is called Counterspell. And we decided in the wake of the BP disaster, we were faced with all this kind of strange spin that was coming out of the fossil fuel industry that, instead of reacting to like this disaster, they were talking about how they're going to turn things into jobs, and eventually it will be like the spill never happened. The oysters are back. It's like, well, didn't we just wipe off part of the Gulf of, Mexico forever? And it's going to be a long, long time. And we began to look at this disaster. We said, this is a lot like what happened when Exxon Valdez went aground when I was a younger person in Alaska. After a few years, the press made it seem like these things never really happened. So in order for us to have a sustainable future, we got to turn down the use of fossil fuels. And one thing we do on the site, if you get a chance to check out Counterspell, is we chart where these fossil fuel disasters happen. And the way the fossil fuel industry works is they want to minimize what we think the cost of these fuels are. And that doesn't really help promote alternatives. So that's what Counterspell is. And, of course, while we turn down the fossil fuels, we want to turn up the use of the sun, the direct sun, not the fossilized sun, but the sun in all the ways that it works right here and now. The sun today gives us water coming down from the mountains. It grows plants which can be used into fuel. It creates wind. And there I am on the roof with the person who helped me put our solar system on the roof. So all these ways are ways of using the sun. And when we went to Iceland for a new film, the president of Iceland has a way of saying it. Says there's two kinds of sustainable energy for the developed world. There's the fireball in the sun, and there's a fireball of the magma of the earth. We use these two fireballs, we can have all the energy we need. This is a quick chart that shows the renewable use at our house. We make maybe 60% of the energy we use to power our house and our automobiles because we're using plug-in cars on the roof. And all of us that live in Southern California have the advantage of it. If we are lucky enough to have a roof that we can put solar panels on, we can make a lot of our energy. The disadvantage with putting your energy usage up on the web is that your friends know when you're having parties. And they go, I see you're using a lot of power right now. Are you having a party over there or something? Like, oh yeah, why don't you come over? So, if you don't have a roof, and this is another way, it's solar, using that wall of fire, I can't quite see it, it's just off frame. This is a demo plant, utility plant in Israel, and they're also deploying one in the Mojave Desert right here, right now. And this is not a solar panel, these are mirrors. And all of these mirrors are like little alien invasion. They are reflecting the sun at what used to be an oil drilling derrick in the very middle. And the top of that, you'll see all the lights beaming there, and it's heating up water, creating a steam turbine. So this is what's called solar thermal. So another way to use sun energy that doesn't necessarily need solar panels in your house. All of this is to say, what we've got to do for sustainable energy is we've got to green the grid. And what better place to green the grid than at a resort? This is, believe it or not, a resort that we were dared to go to when we were in Iceland filming for the new film. And I will show you that, a quick clip. It's not a fully produced clip, but you'll get an idea. Believe it or not, in the foreground is a luxury resort spa, and in the background is a geothermal plant that's making a huge amount of electricity for Iceland. So here's where I get dared by the president of Iceland to go visit that place. We had kind of a tough day because it was pouring rain, so we couldn't end up using any of the footage. The cameras were getting destroyed while we were making it, but we did get this little bit.
We don't really need international reports or global conferences to convince us that the climate is changing, that the glaciers melting, and the nature transforming itself. And we feel a very strong responsibility for the future of our children. But Iceland is the primary example of a nation which has gone from being almost exclusively dependent on fossil fuel, and now 100% of our electricity is from clean energy resources, geothermal, hydro. So the next big step is to get rid of oil and fossil fuel completely. The pressure must be for the electric car.
It's a basic corporation. They have been producing the IMEAB is a new type that we will bring into Iceland in some number.
I'm about to test drive the my EF or my EV. How do you pronounce it?
We call it IV.
IVF.
Yes.
It just feels completely like my usual tiny iGo. Aside from the obvious fact that I'm not spending any gas and it does make a sound. I love it. I want one now.
In Iceland, to altogether making 20 electric vehicles. We are at the very starting point now, but we have to move fast because this is one of our great opportunities. In 2 years, I hope we have several hundred electrical cars here, yes.
In 5 years, you will look at this road and it will be...
We are so interested in electric cars and a new form of passenger traffic because we have 3 primary sources of energy. One is the fireball under our feet. The second is the sun above our head. And the third is the wind in between. Go to the Bogaard, which is now a world-famous tourist resort of geothermal origin.
I am Halldór Sigurðsson. I'm here native Icelandic, and I have a company, Rafmagnsbílar Dias, which will be electric vehicles.
My name is Yeti. I'm English studying.
I'm importing cars into Iceland.
So I won't let this play on forever, but we thought, wouldn't it be great to get a Chinese car maker and a giant Icelandic Viking-looking guy in the swamp and have them talk about electric cars, but it was raining so hard that our cameras kept going out. You can see the microphone dips in the camera here, and so it just shows on filmmaking, like anything in life, things can often go wrong. There's the camera, there's our microphone. Flipped shortly before I had a nervous breakdown and dove into the pool. But the point of this of Iceland is we don't actually live, of course, on top of a giant volcano like they do in Iceland, so it's hard for us to switch to geothermal, although you could do it in a lot of places, and Northern California has a lot of geothermal resources. But it is part of the solution, and I've heard estimates that we can do 15% of our power off geothermal if we properly adapt it. Okay, so what is the cheapest way to make sustainable power? This is the one quiz question. It's open to anyone here. It's a trick question, so think trick, and maybe that's the answer. Guess, yeah?
Energy efficiency.
Energy what?
Efficiency.
Oh, try to. Here. This is a new film about electric motorcycle racing, just what you wanted to watch at home. That's right, it's not to use it in the first place. Don't build those power plants, we don't need them. In fact, our appliances, this is an interesting stat, just in standby mode, maybe you've heard this. In Germany, it turns out that 2 nuclear power plants do nothing but run all the standby modes in the country. And the biggest standby mode power sucks are DVDRs, we have TiVo or something like that. These Comcast things are just power pigs, bigger than our refrigerators. So if we were really efficient and had Energy Star regulation all the way through all of our energy things, we wouldn't have to build all these power plants. It's a huge thing, and conservation became kind of a bad word for some reason. When really, it's the cheapest energy that is out there. So hopefully we can keep this kind of momentum. And the United Nations is leading this. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, they switched the Rockefeller Center Christmas to LED lights, which is a huge energy saving. They have something like 30,000 lights, and of course, LED is a fraction of the percentage of power that regular bulbs use. So this is a good future. Another great thing we can do, not just in the developed world, but all over, is doing more with less. And a lot of this whole ethos came right up here out of Pasadena and the work of Paul McCrady, who was at Aero Environment. And Paul said, why